Hello and welcome to another YouTube video. Are you stuck with just getting 1,000 points per breach? I will show you and tell you the guide on how to make upwards of 3 to 4,000, or if you want to be min-maxing everything, over 5,000 points per breach, which means since there's 3 breaches every day, you can make over 15,000. At the end of the video, I will also show you and tell you the locations that I have had the most success with at hitting breach monsters. So let's dive straight into it. So, this is a guide for new players that want to just get their cosmetics or get some points so they can sell their cosmetics in the main game. If you're a min-maxer that have maxed your breach points, this video will not be for you. If you're someone who's struggling to get breach points or just want tips and tricks on how to get more breach points, this is the perfect place to be. So I've played DMM every day for way too many hours since it came out. I have an account in every bracket, and I've gotten all the points I want on all the brackets for all the finale sigils and the sigils we play throughout the DMM. So, how did I do it? And what have I learned doing it as well? Because things I've tried haven't worked, and other things I've tried have worked really well. So, I will show you a picture. Let me see here. Okay, so there is first of all, you have to choose. Do you want to be a ranger or a major? You could also be melee, but melee is more expensive, and I don't think it's as good unless you put in a lot of money. But I want this guide to be cheap. You should be able to run in, and I will show you an example setup later with risking around 150 to 200k. So it's almost nothing. You can make that in an hour thieving. And different money maker if you need money is to actually just go to a breach with nothing and a looting bag and food and just loot all the loot people don't pick up. You will make easily a mil per breach, probably more, and that will be able to fund you for multiple breaches even if you die at the breaches. So, what do you need? Well, you need high ranged or high mage. I suggest mage because it's better for the finale. So if you want to play the finale, you already will have an account ready for it. And because it's a lot easier to level because of a sigil in the game that is called Alchemaniac. If you want to level magic, you can literally just unlock high alch or low alch and alch wrath runes, and it will go pretty much break even because wrath runes are really, really cheap, like 50 GP each. And then you can just sit in the GE AFK and you will level your magic up to your desired level. If you don't want to do that, you can use starter weapons or cheap weapons at the gemstone crab, for example. However, there will be some people ragging there. What sigils should you be looking for? When you have chosen your style, you should have either Arcane Swiftness or Gunslinger. So Arcane Swiftness if you're a mage, and Gunslinger if you're a range. If you're using the Rune Crossbow, it will become a tick faster, which will give you a lot more points. If you're either Surge Casting or Ancient Magic, you will also be a tick faster, which will give you a lot of extra points. What other sigils do you need? There's one sigil that is far better than any other sigil in the game for breaches, which is Meticulousness. 75% accuracy. Before you have enough points for this, you could also get Deft Strikes, which is 30% for just 100 points. But Meticulousness is very powerful. You actually have to get this. Other than those two sigils, so the attack speed and meticulousness, there's not that many that are great. There are some that will help. If you're a mage, just go with the mage sigils. If you're a ranger, just go with the range sigils. If you have a lot of points, get aggression, because that will give you 10% extra. However, it is very expensive. Now I'll tell you what sigil not to waste points on, which a lot of people do. If your whole game plan is to just log in on a breach, kill monsters for 15 minutes to gain 4,000 points, log off, log in next breach, repeat, then you should not be getting, let me find it here, titanium. Titanium will give you 60% reduced damage from monsters. However, breach monsters do not deal a lot of damage, and there are so many players that they will not be hitting you most of the time. And most of the time you can just pray against the hit and it won't deal any damage. So titanium is not very good. If you have enough points, get it, but it's not very good. It should be low on your list. Another really good sigil is the augmented thrall. It will give you a ton of extra points. However, if you're a mage, you have to use the Trinket of the Undead, which will cost you 2 or 3 mil, and you will lose it if you die. So be very careful. If you're a ranger, you could quest the Kingdom Divided, which will take you about an hour, and that will let you be on the Arceus spellbook, and then you can use the manual Thrall spell. It will mean that you're less able to survive because you can't freeze escape anymore. However, it's very cheap, almost free, and it will let you get all the effects here, even the normal thralls. So that is very powerful if you want a low risk, high point setup as well. It does cost 5,000 to unlock though, but it's very good. You should get, if you're a ranger who wants to go for the thrall style, or if you're a major with a lot of money and you want to go for the thrall style, your sigil orders for just breaches, like you can do anything else that would give you more points while you're skilling and whatever, but for the breaches, it's meticulousness number one, and then Thrall or Arcane Swiftness, Thrall or Gunslinger, and then the other one. They're pretty much even. It's hard to say which one will give you more points. It also depends on how tanky the monsters are, since the Thralls are guaranteed to hit. Or don't care about the defenses, I mean, of the monsters. So that's pretty much the sigil setup for each build. Let me show you a version. Let me see here, just make sure I'm going on the right account for this. And hopefully it will work. Let's see here. So this is my bracket 3. It was supposed to be a bracket 2 account, and then I leveled defense to high, so I have a different level 2 account now, or bracket 2 account. So this is my bracket 3 account. I have not played it almost at all. I've joined like 3 breaches on it. The setup I use is just ancient magics with arcane swiftness. This setup here will cost you 200, 300k, almost nothing. The inventory is just sacks to cast ancients, food. I use the Trinket of Avarice. You don't have to do that. That's just, it will automatically loot any loot I get from the breach monsters, which adds up to a decent amount of money, and I just don't have to focus on what I get. Um, but it's a 300k added risk, so it's up to you if you want to do that. The sigils this account is running is meticulousness, arcane swiftness, and consistency. I'll be swapping consistency for aggression when I unlock that. However, I've just unlocked the finale sigils first on this account. The next thing I want to show you, so that is how I'm playing this account. And this account doesn't use thralls, however, thralls would be very good. Another thing I will show you is that if you don't want to use the Trinket of Avarice, it is very difficult to know what drops you get, because there's a lot of people, a lot of ground loot. It's very difficult to know. What you can do is you can go here, you can put the minimum item value needed for loot notification to a low amount. You can put this to 1 if you want, and then whenever you get a drop, it will tell you in the chat box what that drop was, assuming the value is low enough. And what happens then is that you actually end up getting you end up having full clarity of what loot you got. So you just have to remember where the monster died so you can go and loot it, because there's be a lot of ground loot, so it's hard to find yours. Or when you see that you got a trinket of advanced weaponry or something, you know exactly when you got it, or a VLS or whatever, you know exactly that it dropped and you can just go and loot it. It is not needed unless you want to track what you're getting when you use Trinket of Avarice. However, it will let you know when you got something very valuable, so that you should probably bank, even when your Avarice auto loots it. So that is the example setup for a major, which is what I would suggest if you're not, if you don't know what to do. I would suggest a ranger. Now let's go into the most important part, which is how do you minimize, or how do you maximize points from the breach? Because a lot of people know how to build a range character and go to a breach, but they end up competing with 500 people and getting no points. So what do we do? How do we fix that? First of all, most people think there's 2 types of breaches, but there's not. There is 3 types of breaches. What does that mean? There is the small area single breach. There's the small area multi-breach. Then there's the large region breaches, which are both single and multi. I always go to the large area breaches. Today, I went to the breach, and I will show you the location earlier. For the first 5 minutes, I was solo hitting 2 monsters. Now, that was the lowest population breach because it was in EU time 3 a.m., so there's not that many players on. But it just goes to show that if you look for the obscure good locations, you can get a lot of time hitting monsters, which gives you a lot of points. So what is a region? How do you recognize what is a region breach? First of all, it will only be one breach when you ask Purder. Because if you don't know, what you can do is, when the breaches spawn, you will get a chat message. You can also talk to Purder, and he will tell you, now there's no breach. So what you can do is you can hop to different worlds, and then ask Purder, where's the breach? Where's the breach? Until you find the perfect region breach for you. How you want set up this, I will show you also how to set up the world filter like this. What you do is you click this cogwheel, and then you just write in. So I'm playing on the 81 to 95, so I can press either 81 or 95, enter, and then it will only show these worlds. It's that simple. So when you found a region breach, my favorite ones are Southern Kingdom of Kandarin. Then what I do is I teleport to Khazard with a Khazard teleports tablet. I run all the way west. I enter this maze here, and then I go straight north, and then I get to this part of the maze, and there's quite often a few players and a lot of monsters. A different breach I use, which was the one I was telling you about, let's find where that is the Great Kingdom of Corinth. And then I go to this bank. There's monsters here and monsters here. But it's very dangerous because to get here you have to run through multi either this way or multi either this way. So if you're slow, you might die to a multi team. I haven't seen any multi teams camp here yet, but just be aware that this is multi. How to get here? I use the Fairy Ring CIS and then I run straight down. This is right next to a bank, so it's very easy to bank your items, your loot when you get stuff. Or when you get towards the end of the breach, you can loot your valuables, or bank your valuables. Yeah, all of that. Another one is West Kingdom of Ascarnia, which is this whole west side here. And then I teleport with a games necklace to Birthrope. You will see tons of players here. You will see tons of players here. You will see tons of players here. But right up here, there's very few players, and there's quite often a monster spawn. And if you're not getting a monster spawn, you can just dip in here or dip south to get some points and then go back up again. Another one that I have had success with, which is the last one I will tell you about because these are the only breaches I do, is, let me find it, it is the Kingdom of Arlemore Southern, which means this whole region. And then I go to this spot right up here. There's not very many players up here. This is my least favorite of the four, but this also works. So that was the guide. If there's anything you would like me to cover about breaches, we now have 4 days remaining, which means there will be around 12 breaches, which is you can even cap your points in that time. It's so much time to get points. So is it too late to start? Definitely not. If you have any other strategies that work for you, or if you want me to cover anything else about Deadmanmode, I would love for you to comment below. I will also show you 3 valuable resources that I use, which is this wiki page. I will link them all below in the description. Has all the information you need, fully detailed. Then there is this page, which not many people know about, the breach monsters. Here you can see their weaknesses if you're using search spells. You can see how tanky they are, how much health they have, which is how many points you get. There's a reason everyone loves bee swarms, because 5,000 health and very low defenses. And then there is the price page, which is where you can search up every Deadmanmode item and see how much they sell for and buy for. And now that we're getting towards the end, supplies are very expensive, or not supplies, but skilling supplies. So you can make a lot of money selling skilling supplies if you need some money. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. And I would love to hear what strategies you use in the breaches. The next video I will be uploading is about my finale builds, which would be one build for each bracket. So if you're interested in that, I hope to see you in that video too. Bye bye and good luck in the breaches.